She said it softly, almost lazily, like it was some harmless truth floating through the haze of alcohol. I was never attracted to you. Then her head dropped against the couch cushion, breath warm with cheap wine, eyes half open but seeing nothing. I stood there, still, silent, as the words hit me. Not like a knife, no, knives are clean. This felt like rot, spreading slow, sinking deep enough to stain the bone. Her glass slipped from her fingers, rolled, stopped at my foot. Outside, the city hummed its indifferent lullaby. Inside, the living room held its breath. I didn't move, not when she mumbled something else, something about settling, about convenience, about how you were just safe, safe. A word for cages, a word for people you outgrow but keep around until something better appears. Her eyes finally closed. She was gone, passed out, drifting somewhere warm and stupid where consequences didn't exist. I watched her for a long time, the rise and fall of her chest, the slight twitch in her fingers, the faint smile tugging at her lips, like the confession had freed her somehow. Freed, while I stood there shackled to a sentence she wouldn't even remember. A slow calm spread through me, cold, precise, almost gentle. I realized I was done listening. By the time the refrigerator hummed back to life, the decision had already formed, clean, sharp, inevitable. I waited until she snored softly, slumped sideways, hair tangled across her face. Then I walked to the bedroom, step by step, quiet, measured. I didn't turn on the light as I opened the closet. I didn't panic. I didn't cry. I just packed. One bag. Only what mattered. Nothing she could claim later. By the time the first hint of dawn crept over the horizon, painting the window edges in pale blue, I was already gone. No note, no goodbye, no explanation. Just absence. And the echo of a drunken truth that had finally set me free. But the confession alone wasn't the wound. It was the way she had said it. Bored, casual, like announcing the weather, like it had always been obvious, and I was the only fool who hadn't seen it. I was never attracted to you. I heard more behind those words the longer I let them replay. The late nights she claimed were work, the sudden showers, the new phone she guarded like a fragile secret, the slow erosion of warmth that I had convinced myself was stress. Little things, tiny fractures. I'd patched them with rational explanations until the whole structure sagged under its own weight. Her confession wasn't just alcohol loosening a tongue. It was truth slipping through a crack she had kept sealed for years. The next morning, I didn't turn my phone on. I didn't check messages. I didn't look back at the apartment building as I pulled away. But the betrayal traveled with me. Her voice, her tone, her indifference. I wanted to believe she'd been exaggerating, that alcohol had distorted her honesty. But I knew better. Truth has a temperature. Hers had been icy. I didn't storm back demanding answers. I didn't accuse. I didn't confront. Instead, I observed. Quietly, methodically. I checked the phone records. Numbers I didn't recognize. Hours of calls at strange times. Deleted messages that still left digital footprints. I checked bank statements, meals for two, hotels, ride shares from neighborhoods that had nothing to do with work. Every detail was small, but together they formed a pattern, a shadow taking shape. I kept my breathing steady, my movements calm, even as my chest tightened with each newly uncovered truth. Her lies weren't spontaneous. They were curated, refined over time. She texted me on the third day, "Where are you?" Then, "Please talk to me." And finally, "Are you okay?" I didn't respond. Instead, I dug deeper. A coworker's social media, tags she wasn't supposed to be in, photos cropped just right, almost, a reflection in a wine glass, a familiar jacket sleeve. It all pointed toward one person, someone she once called just a friend. The truth was assembling itself, snap by snap, like a cruel puzzle designed by God's bored hand. And I didn't need to rage. Rage was loud. I preferred silence. Silence is sharper. The final proof came quietly. A hotel bill, date stamped. 2 days before her confession. 2 names, hers and his. The world didn't tilt, didn't burn, didn't collapse. It simply clicked. A truth I had sensed for months finally settled into place. I printed the bill, folded it once, slipped it into an envelope. No message, no accusation, just the truth. When I walked into the apartment, she looked smaller than I remembered, eyes swollen, voice trembling. "Where have you been? I was so scared." I handed her the envelope. She opened it, read, froze. Then she looked up at me, face draining of color, panic cracking through her voice. This isn't, please, I can explain." But I already knew every word she would say before she said it. I simply stepped back. Her hands shook. Her breathing stuttered. Her world tilted. Mine didn't. "I know," I said quietly. Nothing more. Just those 2 words. Her mouth opened, closed. Her face crumpled in on itself. "I'm sorry, please, don't leave, let's talk." But my silence carved deeper than shouting ever could. I walked past her. Not fast, not slow, just steady. She followed me to the door, reaching for my arm with trembling fingers. "Don't go, please! I was drunk, I didn't mean it." But she had. The confession was the only honest thing she'd said in months. I looked at her one last time. Not with anger, not with grief. Just clarity. "You already told me everything I needed to know." Her knees buckled. She collapsed onto the floor. Sobs tore through the room, and I left her there, folded in the ruins she built herself. By the time I stepped outside, the sun was warm on my face. The world kept moving. Cars, birds, voices. Life went on exactly as before, except I didn't. Some truths break you, others free you. Hers had done both. I didn't look back at the building, or at the past collapsing behind its walls. I walked away with the strange, weightless certainty that some endings are simply corrections, not tragedies, just truths revealed. By sunrise, she had lost me, but somewhere between midnight and dawn, I found myself, and that was enough.